It's been quite an eventful week for this gentleman. That's right. You know him, you love him. It is Elon Musk, not only the richest man in the world, but a man who is, for all intents and purposes, revolutionizing everything about the way our society is going to function going forward. You see, he is the number one producer of electric cars with regard to Tesla, as the logo clearly demonstrates. He also created this little logo, SpaceX, creating a commercial space industry where none had ever existed. And then, of course, he's also working with this, the Boring Company. Uh, we already have arcologies that exist in island nations like Japan because there's simply no more room. Well, here in the West, that is going to become an issue. And as always, Elon Musk is two steps ahead of the problem before it even gets started. In fact, this is going to revolutionize the way that cities are built in the future, which is why they will be talking about Elon Musk in the history books for decades and centuries to come. However, it is not for Tesla or SpaceX or even the Boring Company that he is in the spotlight this week. No, he is in the spotlight this week because in what was originally thought to be an epic troll, it turns out that action has morphed into a hostile takeover of this little company. Now, of course, the left is predictably all aflutter over such things, intolerant as they are of other people's opinions. But one has to admire the sheer audacity at the levels of hypocrisy to which they have risen behind this little move. What we are being told by the mainstream press, what we are being told by the globalists and their cronies in legacy media is that billionaires buying access to media platforms could be the death of democracy. These same leftists, particularly on the Democratic side of the aisle, didn't seem to have a problem with this particular billionaire controlling his own media empire and has for decades, and using that money to, in fact, fund a presidential campaign where he tried to come out of nowhere and literally buy himself into the office. These same lefties don't have a problem with this particular billionaire and his massive media holdings, nor do they have a problem with the second richest. And I'm going to drive that home because it just makes me smile to know that Bezos is not the richest man in the world because he is an establishment flunky, but the second richest man on the planet, Mr. Jeff Bezos, and all of his media holdings, which oddly enough include a stake in this. Yes, that's right. Along with the Washington Post and several other social media and music and internet platforms, and nobody seemed to have a problem with Jeff Bezos controlling the public dialogue. What was it the Washington Post said during the presidential campaign? Democracy dies in darkness. No, democracy dies when people fail to deliver the truth. And here's another uncomfortable truth getting back to this logo. They didn't seem to have a problem with this fucking whack job. That's right, Jack Dorsey, a guy who literally, while we catch flack for being tinfoil hat, a man who literally slept in a tinfoil tent. Feel free to Google that, look it up. He had acquisitions of about $7 billion by the time he left Twitter, and nobody seemed to have a problem with him controlling it. But here is the most disturbing of all, and the classic element of Elon's troll of social media and the culture that holds it up. When he took a stake, he became the largest shareholder in Twitter. The second largest was, well, this gentleman right here, a Saudi prince with an unpronounceable name who now has stepped up and increased his holdings in a desperate effort to stem the tide of Elon. taking over at Twitter. Now, one must obligatorily ask oneself, why would a shouty prince, not exactly a culture known for its tolerance and embracing of free speech and alternative lifestyles, be so hell bent for leather on stopping this takeover? Well, you can do the math and quickly realize that it's got fuck all to do with billionaires controlling the public discourse, as long as it's their billionaires. See, the problem that we get to is this, and Orwell, as always, predicted it long, long ago. Crime stop. Crime stop means the faculty of stopping short, as though by instinct, at the threshold of any dangerous thought. It includes the power of not grasping analogies, of failing to perceive logical errors, of misunderstanding the simplest arguments, if they are inimical to Ingsoc, English Socialism, in the book 1984. If you haven't read it, you should. And of being bored or repelled by any train of thought which is capable of leading in a heretical direction. Crime stop, in short, means protective stupidity. The leftists that have controlled big tech and social media for so very, very long have cultivated this crime stop, because there is no more effective censorship than self-censorship, particularly when it comes to critical thinking. At the end of the day, it has never been more succinctly put than Neil Peart, and the knowledge that they fear is a weapon to be held against them. Didn't figure I'd be kicking off the sermon with Rush lyrics, but here we are. The opinions expressed by the Reverend are his own and no one else's on the planet. Not friends, not foes, not supporters, not detractors, not sponsors, and I cannot stress this enough, certainly not employers. They have been adjudicated thought crime in all jurisdictions. Consider yourself warned. They are coming from the heart. They are guided by the mind, and they are guaranteed to choke you with a big, fat dose of the truth cock. Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time once again for the Sunday sermon. Scrambling to put it together. I think we got a moderately stable internet connection. Going to do a quick roll call. See who all's on board. All together now. Everybody up for the drum roll, man. We got it's a little fire coming out of the starting game here. We're going to do a quick rundown. Sorry, once again, we're going to start at 10 minutes late. Dealing with some technical difficulties. We're doing our best to work around it. Let me bring that volume down a couple of notches here. Again, we don't have a soundboard, dude. It's just me, a laptop, a webcam, and a microphone. So that's all we got. We got Brother Roman from opiumtales.com, Brother Dennis OG, Prophet of Doom, and Reverend Ranger. Let me see. What do we got? Oh, yes, lovely Miss Emmy. I knew you'd be on board, the original Center Sister. Good to see you, sweetheart. And, of course, my lovely Oksana. Peace. Good to see you, baby. Glad you made it out. Always a pleasure to have you on board. And it's nice to know that on Mondays I'm bringing some light into your day by giving you some watch the replay. So that's pretty cool. Brother Joel, always good to see you, man. Joel, I'll be seeing you here in a couple of weeks down in Houston. We see you, Bodie, hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. G-Dub, always out there. Moving to Alaska from Texas next year. Anybody want to go? Houston sucks now. Brother, Houston has sucked for a long time. And I say that because, well, you know, I've got a very lovely relationship with that city. That city may be everything that I am, and I can't take anything away from that, but that's everything that I am, good, bad, and ugly. And you got to take care of the bad. My lovely wife, Charlie, hello. Wish you could hang out, sweetheart. My beloved Charlie, my light, my world, my biggest supporter, my number one fan. Wish you could hang out. I know you're going to be busy with work, so have a safe time, baby. Talk to you in a bit. Let me see. Brother Joey, the Sultan of Sarcasm, on board as always. Mr. and Miss America and all the ships at sea. Mike, always good to see you, Mike. And, speaking of the webcam and the microphone and all those other things, none of which I would have, but with the benefit of Mr. Stone, I will be seeing you in a couple of weeks as well. As we have the Feast of Valhalla for our dearly departed brother Harold Best. I'm going to mention that here in a bit. What do we got? 2112. Actually, no, Ryan. For once, the obscure got past it. Even more obscure than 2112. That one was actually track one, side 2 of the Signals album, and this is how far back that goes. I'm using the term album, but it's actually track number 5 on the CD, and it's a song called "Weapon." It's part of the Fear trilogy, which also included Witch Hunt, all the moving pictures, and then of course we can go down that rabbit hole for quite a ways. It's hard to say who is more insufferable, man, Tool fans or Rush fans. Hard to say, really. When we get off into just the obscure stuff. If I remember correctly, though, Ryan, I can forgive you on this one because you are not, if memory serves, you are not the biggest Rush fan. In fact, I think we might have bantered back and forth about that over the years on different threads and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and fade the bumper music down so we can jump off into this, man. I've only got a few things that I really, really want to cover, and it's fine because a lot of this is going to take on a momentum of their own. But yes, that Adam slap him with the truth guy. We're going to slap him with it. We're going to choke him with it. We're going to give him a big forcible anal. That just got me booted from YouTube, didn't it? All right, well, something. A little bit of liquid enthusiasm. Let's jump on back into this, shall we? A little bit of caffeine, trying to stay hydrated. Been a heck of a week, man. Heck of a week on the job site. Heck of a week in the national and international front. It's always fun. But that's why we're here. This is my method of dealing with it. This is my therapy. Dollar Tree Alex Jones. What is that guy's name on Twitter? Reinhardt. Keeps fucking with me. Got a Dollar Tree Alex Jones, but he keeps retweeting my vid. So thanks, I guess. Fucking moron. But we'll take it. No such thing as bad publicity, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and fade this music the rest of the way out, man. A couple of things I would just want to mention real quick. Some of you guys who are here, Joel in particular, and Roman, and some of the other folks that are here may have had the distinct honor and privilege back in the day of being acquainted with one Harold Haywood Best, dear friend, an American original in every sense of the fucking word. Before he passed away a couple years ago, at the start, we weren't quite to the apex yet, but it was right around the start of the COVID epidemic, and it was right as they had started to institute some of the lockdowns. So, and I can remember Mike delivered a eulogy there, and Mike did a phenomenal job with that delivery. I could not make it personally, and I would not have been allowed, even if I had been. They had a hard limit, a hard cap on how many people were allowed at funeral services at the time. And I just remember the banter back and forth with Mike, thinking to myself how Harold, we knew for a fact that Harold was dead, because had he had this much of a spark of life left in him, he would have hopped right out of that coffin and just laid into motherfuckers about, what are you talking about? There's limits, to my fucking funeral. What, I thought this is a free country. This is America. God damn it. But yeah, that was, so we are making up for that. Missy, Harold's widow, wonderful woman, by the way. Missy, if you're watching, I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. Any of the folks that knew me back in the day in Houston, and were acquainted, at the very least, with Harold, you guys know. And we will be having that Feast of Valhalla, a commemorative service for him on the 30th of April. It will be in Houston. I will post the details of that on my personal page and on my fan page as we get a little bit closer. I will be making the trip. Joel will be there. Mike will be there. Roman, I know that you were acquainted with Harold as well. So if you would like to come out, you and the wife, it would be fantastic to see you. But again, remember, folks, this is how we're wired. We are. I hate even to use the term warrior culture because it's so cliched now. It's like the guys with the no fear shirts and, I run with the wolves and, I run, lay down with the lions. And, it's a cool sentiment, but most of the people sporting this stuff are fucking cheap, So I don't like to use that word warrior culture, but for lack of a better word, we'll run with it right now. And because we are a warrior culture, and because most of us, I know myself personally, I follow the opposite true path. I honor the old gods, and we do not mourn death. We celebrate the life, and that, of course, is the purpose of this celebratory feast in honor of Harold's life, because we were not able to pay him a proper tribute at the time of his death. We had to put it off. Now here it's been a couple of years, but we are definitely going to honor his life, and we're going to celebrate that life. And that will be on the 30th of this month. I will be coming in, and I will again post the details to my personal page and my fan page. There will be many stories. There will be many stories exchanged. I'll leave with the 28th. My house is open to you. Thank you, Brother Ryan. And I may very well take you up on that. I may very, very, very well take you up on that. I remember watching you breaking up Stephen Howe in the parking lot of Celtic Odyssey. Good times. Speaking of Fallen, whose lives we were celebrating. If you guys follow my personal page, you know that this was many years, the anniversary of my other friend Stephen Parnell Robbins. Mike is referring to, because Steve and Hal were both swinging dick alphas. Let's just say that. Loud, belligerent, swinging dick alphas, and for the same reason that Saul Solis and I would constantly, in spite of how much love we had for each other, constantly fucking butting heads, because you can't have belligerent swinging dick alphas in the same room like that without there being confrontation. And I remember in particular the fight that Mike is talking about, because I had literally just gotten off. I was working as a hotshot freight driver at the time, and had just gotten off work, and I was crawling out of my truck, and all of a sudden I hear bam up against the side of my truck, and there's Harold and Steve just duking it out in the parking lot. We will be celebrating Hal's life on the 30th. I try to celebrate in my own way on a daily basis for Steve, but 2 times in particular every single year that I make it a point to bring that home, and that is his birthday, which is New Year's Eve, and the date of his murder. Steve's dream, Steve's one and only dream when he got out of the penitentiary, and Steve struggled, man. Steve was he was a rough and tumble, shifty, throwdown, gritty and grimy motherfucker. He was, but he made the decision when he got out of the penitentiary the last time that the one and only thing that he wanted to fucking do was open a tattoo shop. He wanted his own shop. He was tired of doing work at other people's places. He wanted something to call his own. And the dude had an ironclad work ethic. I mean, for all of the things that you could look at with Steve that could be interpreted as character flaws, his work ethic was fucking ironclad, and he would Mike, see if I've got this accurate. This is the way that I put it with Steve. Steve would do anything in the fucking world for you. He would never let you forget it. And a lot of that is coming from that convict mentality. That is because that is sort of the power dynamic in a penitentiary setting. And Steve was one of those guys who was fairly fucking institutionalized on that level. So that became, it was just sort of his emotional makeup. He would do anything in the world for you, but he would never fucking let you forget it. He was murdered. I helped him move in and open that tattoo shop. Statute of limitations has run out, so I can come clean on this. Speaking of Easter Sunday, when we were finding creative ways to finance opening that tattoo shop, I legit jacked a drug dealer on Easter Sunday. Sorry, I wasn't always a nice guy. I'm not particularly proud of that, but yeah, legit jacked a fucking dope dealer on Easter Sunday. To secure some of the cash that it took to get that fucking place open. And a lot of people out there might be thinking, well, that's just karma coming back around. You're entitled to feel that way, and I'm not gonna interfere with it. Life has its own complex cycles, and particularly when you're dealing with unsavory activities and unsavory interactions. In any case, we got the tattoo shop open. We got it open. And from then on, he stayed on the ups. He stayed legit. He did very well with that shop. He did a lot of really good work on a lot of people, a lot of his work, all of this here. And, the Zodiac Killer over here, there's a lot of Steve's work on me as well. Teddy Baptiste, and about 5 of his predatory miscreant scumbag partners in crime wandered up into Steve's shop one night, and they had already robbed a number of tattoo shops in the area over the previous 2 or 3 nights. No alert was ever put out. Cops never identified a pattern, anything. They wandered up into the shop. Steve was halfway through doing a tattoo on a guy's arm. And he went to the back to get more ink. The guys came through the front door, started roughing up the customers. And Steve, if you knew Steve did not have a fearful bone in his body. He wasn't afraid of a goddamn thing, particularly guns. Like, he did not give a shit. He wouldn't handle them. He didn't like them. I begged him to keep a shotgun at the fucking shop. It was right there off of 290 in Mangum. Not exactly the most savory fucking neighborhood to have a tattoo shop open, or any kind of business for that matter. But yeah, he wasn't afraid, and they are roughing his customers up. And if you knew Steve, you could just see him. I am told that he just walked out with that classic Steve, yo, dog, no, man, no, this is my shop. You take my money, dog. This is my customers. You leave my customers out of it. You taking my money, dog. We got cameras in here, dog. Just fucking, just take my money, dog. He tells his customers to run out the back. And of course they were reluctant. And Steve was insistent, shall we say. And he put himself between a couple of the customers that started to shuffle their way out the back. Steve put himself in between the gun and the people that were trying to get out. And one of the last things that I am told, the witnesses fucking said, one of the last things that he said, he pointed at one guy who wound up being Teddy Baptiste, the guy that is now sitting on death row for his murder. he pointed at him and said, "Hey, dog, I know you, dog." And at that point, everything broke down into chaos, and Steve wandered right up in the middle and just started chunking. And so he's basically got four guys pounding on him, one of whom has a gun. He wrestled with the gun. Teddy got the gun loose and unloaded. I was in the shop the day after that happened, and Steve took 7 rounds, including a headshot. And by all testimony, still had a pulse when the paramedics showed up 40 minutes later, because 290 in Mangum. And if you know Houston, you know. 7 rounds, including a headshot. And I counted at least 6 more in the walls and furniture and everything else. Dude just basically broke the gun loose and pop, 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 unloaded. You know, I think colloquially referred to as urban pistol technique. I think I'm not going to go down that road. Not today, anyway. A week after that, Teddy Batiste got involved in a high-speed chase after stalking, shooting, and killing another guy for the rims on his fucking car. Yeah. So they didn't catch Teddy behind my brother's murder. They caught Teddy behind a carjacking for the rims where he killed someone else. And it's been 13 years, and he is still sitting on death row, alive, being fed at your expense and mine. So, pardon me again, and if you saw the post on my personal page, I meant every word of it, and I will not back down from any of the sentiments expressed. Don't tell me the system works. Don't tell me the system works. Not when Teddy Batiste is still waiting to ride that needle 13 years after the fact. And you can go ahead and spare me all your bullshit about social justice and bail reform and equity and this and that, because I give 13 fucks at 50 donuts what you have to say about equity in the justice system. Steve is dead. Teddy Batiste is still very much alive. Harold passed peacefully, thankfully. Harold was an American original as well. I'm just going to take you down this walk down memory lane since we're here. Harold opened Celtic Odyssey on a wing and a prayer through the help of some dedicated individuals. I showed up right about that time, man. 1995. Just fucking walked my ass through because I had just moved back into the neighborhood. I was down for Richmond and Mount Vernon. This is back when you could still get an apartment off of Richmond and Mount Vernon for $350 a month. Pre-gentrification. This was old Montrose. This was back when they did the street fair twice a year. But Harold opened up Celtic, and I was one of the first people through the door. It's total divine providence, hand of God kind of thing. I had just moved into the neighborhood, and I just cruising down Richmond, and it was like, wow, okay, Celtic Odyssey. I got a tattoo shop like just down the road from the place, man. Fuck it, I'm gonna go and hang in there. Yep, Ryan, and I know that you know. So yeah. Anyway, so Hal took me in, treated me like family, the way that he did with everybody who was close to him. He did some work on, in fact, I have the word apocalypse festively tattooed across my back from shoulder blade to shoulder blade. Still waiting to finish up that back piece. He He did some, what is it, the black light ink. I've got some biomechanical stuff in my right calf that was done in the black light ink that Harold laid down on me. Harold laid down a lot of stuff on me, man. He did. And we went through our good times and our bad times. And fucking Mike can tell you all about that. All the sheetrock, the floors, the sign. Hell, and I was sleeping on the wood floors while building it out. Yep. It was a tattoo shop. What more do I need to tell you? Yes, there was an immense amount of sexual depravity and illicit substances and things like that that ran in and out of Celtic. Brothers are brothers. Brothers fight. Right? Hal and I fought. Harold and I fought. Right. This was another true story. They had a Coke machine out front, and in the last one, if you knew the code, how to get it to do it, if you hit from the last slot, that Coke machine would dispense ice cold beer. True story. Harold and I fought. We fought over a lot of things, but at the end of the day, there is that love between brothers. If there is love between brothers, it is legit love between brothers, and that's not always about flesh and blood. In fact, in my experience, I've found that more often than not, it is the family that you choose, that you have the closest with, to really come through for you. That'll really show you what family is all about. And I mean, in that sense, I mean, I got Ryan, I got Mike. We were all family at Celtic, and we pulled each other through some bad times, and we reveled in it together when they were good times. Harold was one of a kind, dude. That guy, I can remember. Okay, I'll tell you a true Harold story, and there's going to be plenty of these at the memorial service. But I remember Johnny Von Bodman. You'll know him from our personal page. Johnny and I standing out there smoking a cigarette, like fucking 3:00 in the morning, just standing out back of the shop smoking a cigarette, and all of a sudden we hear up above us on the wall, we hear like, what the fuck is that sound? And we look up, and Harold, if you guys are familiar with fast rope rappel, it's a SWAT team thing where you got your hot seat and your carabiner, and you're just fast roping. And Harold basically just fast roping down from the roof. It's fucking three-story roof of this fucking thing, and he's just fast roping face down the wall. Just he hits the deck, boom, unhooks, and he was like, "Cool, it works." Just wanders around like nothing. Driving, he had this 280ZX 25th anniversary edition, and I actually had it for a while. We kind of sold that back and forth and wrestled with it back and forth and whatever. True story on that one, Ryan. We're driving one day, and Johnny's in the front seat of this thing, and there's a switch on the dashboard, and it says rocket launcher. And a little flip top's got the red safety switch and then the toggle switch, and it's a label over the top of it, rocket launcher, And John looks at Harold, and he says, "What's that?" And Harold, that classic with that ever-present fucking cigarette hand, I was going, "It's fucking rocket launcher." He was like, "What?" He was like, "The rocket launcher." And so he turns the car and he points it at the building, Instant Karma, which was like right across the road. He turns around, he points the car at the thing, and he hits it. And sure enough, Harold had legit wired up. I don't know if any of you guys played with model rockets when you were kids, those S-Days model rockets with the electric matches and the fuse and everything. He had legit wired model rockets underneath the front bumper of this 280Z and wired them to a switch in the dashboard that said, that said rocket launcher. And so he points it at the bit and sends this model rocket launching across and it smacks into the wall, instant karma. And he looks at John and says, "Yo me $20 for another rocket." Just goes about his business. Anyway, we will be celebrating Harold's life on the 30th. And so any of you that knew him, on whatever level, if he made your life better, if he left you in a better place than he found you, come out there with us, celebrate his life. I'll be leaving all the details on my personal page. And again, during the month of April, if we could also celebrate the life of Stephen Parnell Robbins, and a life that was forcibly taken from us. And also on New Year's Eve, just to wish a little happy birthday to Steve as well. And so, yeah, again, we do not mourn the death. We celebrate the life. And those were two lives that were not without their hiccups, but they were very well lived. And you guys have heard me say these things before, that it is always better to fail doing something bold. It's always better to give in to wretched excess if the choice on the other end is mediocrity. All right. Those are just words to live by, man. There are more than enough grazers in the world. There are more than enough. Ryan, you already know where I'm going with that. People living lives of quiet desperation. There are more than enough of that. Jake, wow. Cool that you show up, Jake. We were just talking about Harold. We're talking about Steve. Just some stories, man. And I just mentioned I'll be posting on my personal page. I will be in Houston on the 30th. We're going to be celebrating Harold's life, because we didn't get to do it when he passed during the pandemic. So only 6 likes. Come on, Peace. We need more likes. Yeah, guys, if you could like and subscribe and do all those things to boost me up in the algorithm, again, it helps me out. But this is more my therapy. This is more my labor of love here. In any case, so yeah, that's the opener. A couple of sponsor shout outs now that I've gotten all that stuff out of the way. First of all, to Roman and Allie and Roxy and the bevy of beautiful women, including his lovely wife, Carrie, over at opiumtales.com. They are the erotic pinups and portraits people. You go check out the website, because one of the last things, let me see if I can find this asshole's picture here. One of the last things this prick did before leaving this company was boot Roman from the Twitter platform. So you can only check him out now online at opiumtales.com. Roman is one of my oldest and dearest friends, and he's been flagship sponsor of the program from day one. And so, yeah, beautiful watercolors and beautiful naked women and testosterone-driven commentary. There's a hell of a lot to like there. And, of course, Casey and Dusty Tillotson, my Viking brothers over at Nordic Smoke Barbecue, the only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. They are out there every Thursday with the Viking Longship, the great big smoker trailer at American Gun and Pawn. Down there off of Sprague. They start at 11 and they serve until they run out of food, and they run out quickly. So get there early, get your ass in line, and be thinking about it anytime you have a special occasion that needs catering, anytime you have a holiday coming up and you want a proper bird smoked for Christmas or for Thanksgiving or for both. Some of us do know. Yes, get in touch with them. The Nordic Smoke Barbecue. You can find them online. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram, Twitter, all those things. Give them a follow. Check out the product. The only legit barbecue in the Inland Northwest. And we are happy to have them on board as friends and sponsors. Now then, the very first segment that we are going to get into, and this one's probably going to take on a life of its own. Guys, you already know where we're going with this one. This is Ryan's Rabbit Hole, the minister of the obscure and esoteric, in the same sense that Joey is the Sultan of Soulcraft. So, little round of applause. It's a pretty popular segment, and again, it's one that's sort of taken on a life of its own since we got this thing rolling. Ryan is, as I said, the prime minister of the obscure and the esoteric. He and I share that bond in that both of our brains are absolute repositories of useless information, or at least useless information to a whole lot of people. But it's always interesting stuff. Sometimes we go conspiratorial. Yeah, Jake, I would love to see you. Please come out. Please come out for the service on the 30th, or hit me up to my personal inbox, and we will make that happen. Happy to join you on this holiest of days. Love to Charlie. Thank you, Julie. Thank you for being on board. It is the holiest of days, which is going to make it a real weird departure, the direction we're getting ready to go on the rabbit hole segment. Sometimes we go historical, sometimes we go metaphorical, sometimes we go philosophical, sometimes we go to, this week is going to be straight up conspiratorial, and we are going straight up conspiratorial because the Denver International Airport. That's right. I posted for a photo album. I guess it's been 10 years or so ago. And of course, I've been through there a number of times since then. A lot more frequently than I think my photo feed or any of my social media presence would let on. But I've been through the Denver International Airport a number of times. First of all, let me jump this off for any smokers, any of you guys out there that still indulge in that filthy nicotine habit. It is one of, I think, 2 airports in the country, the other one being Las Vegas, where you can actually still smoke. But here's the kicker. It is hidden away. There is a cafe lounge upstairs, Terminal A. You have to buy at least one item, and a cup of coffee counts as one item. And if you go in there, they have a separate ventilation system that vents to the outside. And if you go in and you buy a cup of coffee while you're waiting between flights, you can sit in there with their ashtrays and smoke to your heart's content inside the Denver airport without actually having to leave the building. Anyway, horrible port. Okay. Oh, you're talking about, okay, Denver. Yeah, well, it is pretty fucking horrible, but we're about to get into exactly how horrible it is. Now, I'm going to throw some things out here. And if you were going through and trying to make an impression on children, Julie, if you're here, I want you to stick around for this because you are going to dig some of this stuff. Would this be the kind of thing that you would consider maybe uplifting? This isn't exactly triumph of the human spirit kind of artwork, is it? Probably not. And even if it was, then you have the back half of this, and I could get into some more clips. But again, that's the thing about the rabbit hole. I want you guys to go on your own and follow it as far as it fucking takes you. This is the big part of one of the frames of the mural, and you have no idea the true scope of this thing until you stand next to it. It is every bit as dark and bleak and spooky standing next to it as you would imagine. In fact, these pictures do not begin to do it justice. Now, again, then you start throwing stuff out, you start looking around a little bit more, and of course they've got these gargoyle statues all over the place, and they have, different Masonic emblems, things like that. But the the one that really sets it off. First of all, this one was just recently added. Yeah, nothing sinister about Anubis. A fucking an ancient Egyptian god of fucking death in the underworld. Nothing wacky about that. That's the kind of thing that you would post in a family friendly fucking airport, wouldn't you? Nothing to see here. Move along. And you know what? God, and we've done this before. You guys know how I feel about it. Maybe there's nothing to it. Maybe it's a colossal troll job. Who fucking knows? But you don't get to do stuff like this and expect that I'm not just going to go, guys, that's it's a little fucking weird. This being my favorite, Lucifer. And again, you guys can follow this one down as far as you want. Denver International Airport. Okay, that's where you're going to run. That is Lucifer. Lucifer is a giant death horse statue that gets creepier the more it's lit up. You get in when it's in total darkness, the eyes light up orange. It's really, really sinister shit. Gargoyles at the fucking baggage claim, all this stuff. I mean, there's a mountain, but I'm going to let you guys follow this rabbit hole in your own direction because all of us have our own preconceived narratives, right? A lot of it will be like, oh, yes, well, it's a secret order of Jesuits that blah, 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 blah. And the runways are laid out in a swastika pattern, indicating that the last surviving remnants of the Third Reich have set up a new command center, and there's a secret underground prison, and it's the central hub. Okay. Your speculation is just as good as mine. But the theories hidden beneath the airport's underground baggage transport system is a secret bunker or a series of bunkers designed to house billionaires or global political elite in the event of an apocalypse. Lizard people, reptoids, and or evidence of aliens also thought to be lurking down there. That's just one of the theories. DIA's location, 25 miles from downtown Denver, swastika-shaped runway configurations, barely concealed symbols of Nazism or fascism, hinted any number of sinister plots, yada, yada, yada. The tunnel is said to connect DIA to NORAD, nearly 100 miles to the south near Colorado Springs. Now, you see here is where we get into what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. The old joke in the strip club business, what's the difference between a waitress and a dancer? About 2 weeks. In the news business, what's the difference between conspiracy theory and accepted mainstream fact? About 2 weeks. The window just keeps getting smaller. I can tell you they are very, very close to SAC NORAD. And NORAD, of course, SAC NORAD, Strategic Air Command, North American Air Defense Command, relics of the Cold War that were there to warn us of incoming Soviet missile attacks, blah, 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 blah. We've all been there, right? Got it. So there's always an element of truth to any of these stories. How far you want to go down that hole is going to be entirely up to you, but that's why we're presenting it. That is the rabbit hole for the week, the Denver International Airport. Hell no. Oh, you saw that, did you? Let me see. I'm giving him that name now. Air Nubis. I like it. There we go. Yes. We did want to fire this off because this is one. First of all, because it's right out there. It's right out there. It's another one of those. It's another one of those JFK type situations where, yes, it's hidden and dark and spooky and cloak and dagger and everything, but it's so fucking right out there in the open that it's impossible to ignore. Like, say, the United States government bringing hundreds of Nazi scientists, including convicted war criminals, over here to work for NASA after the war. See, because that happened. The same as one might consider with Unit 731, and I'm not going to go too far down that because I'd like to do another rabbit hole in 731. Human experiments that made concentration camp stuff look like a weekend at Girl Scout camp. And every single one of those Japanese doctors at the end of the war was pardoned by the United States government. in exchange for their research. There are no good guys, there are no bad guys. And when it comes to things like the Denver International Airport, you do not want messianic assignations to one and Mephistophelian assignations to the other. Mephistophelian. That's my college word. I've got like 3 of those. Basically, you don't want to say that this is the good and this is the bad, and that this necessarily has to be connected with this, because there's always nuance. There's always nuance. When we get back and we start talking about Brother Elon here in a minute, I'll run that thing while you mix martinis in the back. Right. I do remember, Mike. Home of Alex Jones lizard people, possibly. Yes. When we get back to Elon Musk, as we will here, because that was the main bullet point that I wanted to get into today. Brother Elon has nuance. I love Elon Musk. I love what he represents. I love the things that, at least on the surface, he is trying to do. I keep an Elon Musk prayer candle proudly right here at the command center. But I bet he's got some demons. I didn't get upset with Pat Miletich when he posted that. Adam Sims, Majestic 12. You know what? Let's keep rolling with that. I'm glad you brought up MJ12. I didn't get upset with Coach Pat when he brought those things up about Elon Musk and providing, know-how for weapon systems for the Pentagon and all of these things, because I don't doubt it. I think what Pat is saying is factually 100% correct. That doesn't take, as far as I'm concerned, in the grand scheme of things, on balance with what Elon is trying to do for the world right now. I'm going to give him a pass. I'm going to give him a pass on Ukraine. I'm going to give him a pass on weapon systems that he's doing for the Pentagon. I'm going to give him a pass on a whole lot of things. Until he legit outs himself as an antichrist type figure, I'm going to be a pretty tough sell when it comes to that. Oh yeah, you're clever, Joey. You're very clever, Joey. That's why I'm going to kill you last. Here's why it is so preposterous. Okay, so anyway, let me wrap up with the rabbit hole segment. Denver International Airport. Okay. Because of the Google algorithm, the first thing that it's going to pull up is a whole bunch of puff pieces about, it's a wonderful airport. We're updating all the time, and it's the latest cutting edge. You're going to need a lot of puff pieces, and you got to dig a little deeper, and you're going to have to pull into some off-color websites, some of which are going to be David Icke nut job shit that you can dismiss out of hand. But all of this stuff is fascinating stuff and definitely worth a look. Denver International Airport, with a subtext under New World Order, globalism, secret government bunkers, any number of things. Maybe Ryan, maybe. Yeah, we'll ponder that. We'll ponder that. So, at the end of the day, look into it. Denver International Airport, conspiracy hub, underground government bunker, blah, blah, blah. You pick the speculation that works best for you. And for some people, that's going to be that it's just a whole lot of bullshit over nothing. Cool. I'm all right with that. I don't need, and this is the difference between folks like us and folks like them. I don't need you to believe the way that I do. I'm throwing out opinions. I am throwing out observations based on my own experience. I'm a crane operator with some fucking opinions. Dollar Tree Alex Jones. I don't need you to believe exactly the way that I believe. And that is the difference between myself and hopefully most of you, if not all of you, and the people who keep trying to force the narrative, and the people who keep trying to force the politics, and the people who keep trying to control the pattern of acceptable thought. Remember how that worked? Remember we talked about that last week? You keep the debate very lively within a specific spectrum, but you keep the parameters of that spectrum very, very tight. This is how they've continued to operate. And Twitter, that is why this situation with this man have become so important in my observation over the course of the past couple of weeks. Month or so ago, Elon started talking, and he was concerned, as well he should be. What have they insisted? What has been the mainstream narrative from day one on Twitter? The maybe God damn it, man. Took me on my fucking train of thought again, motherfucker. I'm gonna have to tune your comments out, man. Keep shaking me up. The narrative has been from day one that they don't shadow ban. The narrative has been from day one that there is no systematic pattern of discrimination against conservative voices on Twitter, that there isn't a naked fucking bias. And of course, we all knew it was bullshit. But whatever level of plausible deniability they had just went right out the fucking window when Elon stepped up. See what you want about capitalism. Here is one thing that capitalists don't walk away from. Money, shitloads of it, 25 to 30% over the premium that it should have been demanding. The shareholders have been losing their fucking minds. Oh my God, he's about to pay 30 to 40% over market value for our fucking shares. We're going to make a fucking killing. Let's do it. I'm a private company, right? It's just business, right? We're not setting policy, right? We're not limiting the parameters of debate, right? It's just business. And a private business can do whatever it wants, right? One of the reasons why I'm so fucking thankful for Elon Musk and why we should all be thankful that for once the richest man on the planet is not one of them. He doesn't give a fuck because he doesn't have to. He decided he was going to go in and become the number one shareholder. So he cashed out his money from Tesla, SpaceX, and the other things that he had a stake in. And he became their largest shareholder. And Twitter tried to do what the system always tries to do with those new voices. Come on in. Let us put these big warm arms around you. Come on in. We'll make you part of the board. We'll give you a seat on the board. Just come on in. Come on in, Elon. Let us wrap these big arms around you. You'll see how warm and comfortable it is in here. See, Elon's a little bit sharper than that. He wasn't buying it because he knew good and well. And he'd been bagging on Twitter. He'd been bagging on him ever since he bought that fucking shit. Ever since he became the largest shareholder, he started calling him out. He started trolling him. Started making jokes at their expense. And he knew that once you're on the board, you have fiduciary responsibility and you can't do that anymore. So he didn't buy it. He said, no, instead, I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to engage in a hostile takeover. I think I'm going to take the whole fucking shooting match. You have always known. I have always known. Everybody here has always known how completely full of shit the left was on all of this. I can tolerate a lot of things. I can tolerate hostility, right? I can tolerate people hating my guts. I can tolerate people rejecting my ideology, calling me Dollar Tree Alex Jones. What the fuck ever. I can tolerate a lot of things. Two things I will not fucking abide. One is sanctimony, and the other is gaslighting. I'm reminded of the scene from Outlaw Josie Wales. Senator, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. That's essentially what they've been doing. Pissing down our back and telling us it's raining. I remember the interview before Rogan got his deal with Spotify, and he brought on Tim Pool to fucking call out Jack Dorsey on his bullshit. Example after example after example. And after a while, you can't. I would have a lot more respect if you just went, yeah, we're lefties and go fuck yourself. That would have been refreshing. Yes, we are a platform. We censor. We control the narrative. We bend things to favor leftist voices because that's what we do. That's our business model. That's our ideology. And you can go fuck yourself if you don't like it. What if the rank and file leftist said from the word go? What have they said? A, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. Oh, are you really committed to that premise there, Sparky? Funny how that turned on a dime once that private company suddenly wasn't their private company anymore. We don't actually censor. That's another great one. We don't censor. We don't shadow ban. We don't throttle. We don't favor. We don't any. And then once Elon's taking the place over and saying, yeah, you do this and I'm going to take it private and you're not going to do it anymore. Literally turned on a dime. Same fucking people. Well, yes, we do that. Of course we do that. We need to do that. Democracy's only going to survive with more control over free thought, not less. Wow. Unreal. Unfucking real. And you're right. You're right, Roman. He didn't hold back at all. Learn to code, all that other stuff. I have my doubts. If anybody can pull this off, it'll be Elon Musk. I have my doubts that he'll be able to pull it off. He's got too much resistance, but that's okay. Because the single most important thing that he has done this entire process is fucking expose them for exactly who they are. He has forced them to come to the table and admit, yes, we do shadow ban. Yes, we do put controls on things, and we do it for ideological reasons because democracy won't survive without it. Told you that's what they thought. Told you that's what they were doing. Oopsie. We were right. Again. Here's the other thing that he exposed. And this was the beauty of it. When the Saudi prince came on and tweeted, "We refuse this offer." And what did Elon come back with? Elon was like, "Oh, cool. All right, nice to know. First of all, are you actively representing a foreign government in a U.S. business transaction? And second of all, where does your government stand on freedom of political speech?" Not a question the Saudis wanted. Again, it's the sanctimony. The left want control. We have been over this and over this and over this. Stimulus response. You control the stimulus by default. You control the response. Case in point, Hunter Biden laptop. What did Jack Dorsey do about the Hunter Biden laptop thing when it broke? Literally came out and said it was Russian disinformation and shut down the New York Post Twitter account to keep them from retweeting it. Shut down active blue check participants on Twitter, verified users, prevented them from retweeting to their own audience this story. They essentially shut it down. And their concern, quote unquote, is that Elon Musk having that much control is going to be dangerous for a democracy. In what sense? That he might throttle stories exactly the way you've been doing? That he might set algorithms to lean right rather than left, which is exactly what you've been doing? Don't fucking hit me with the sanctimony. You don't have a problem with throttling ideas. You don't have a problem with censorship. You don't have a problem with any of those things. You have a problem when you're not in control of it. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know about the left. We've known it. But now they can't hide. They can't hide behind their little gaslighting bullshit anymore. Oh my God. I don't know why anybody would think you're shadow banning. God, you're crazy. Oh, you're fucking crazy. They wouldn't shut down a whole fucking story. The Hunter Biden laptop thing's fucking in a total. It's all come out. Have we seen an apology? Nope. Damage is already done. We just had to throttle it for a minute, just enough to get through the election. But see, again, this is the left projecting. They're terrified that Elon is going to get in there and throttle ideas coming from the other side. I don't think it could be further from the truth. If anything, he'll level the playing field because he knows that the left and their ideology is completely fucking bankrupt. That in a truly free and level marketplace of ideas, they cannot compete. They know it too. That's why they're so goddamn terrified of losing control of the narrative. But Elon, brother, if you're listening, and I know you're not, because I know my place in the pecking order in the food chain. Dangerous for their democracy. Fucking A right, Adam. Exactly. Dangerous for their democracy. Clearly, it is bad for a single rich guy to own a tent pole of the clown world in Silicon Valley and have sole control over. Yep. Here's where it's at, though. Even if none of this goes through, the single greatest thing to come out of this is that he's exposed them. Now, I really don't know how much good that's going to do ultimately, because most of us already knew. And the ones who don't believe it are never going to believe it. In fact, they did exactly what you'd expect them to. They turn around and double down. We don't do that. We don't do that. Well, yes, we do that. Of course, we have to do that because we're better than you are, and we have to decide what you think. You can't be trusted to think for yourselves. And I'm going to say this. Don't break out the ropes just yet. I'm going to say this. In a lot of ways, they're absolutely correct. Most people cannot be trusted to think for themselves. They can't. Because we don't live in a free and level marketplace of ideas. Back to Chomsky, what we talked about last week briefly. Chomsky keeps the debate very vibrant within very narrow parameters. You have Brian Stelter, and then further left. And we keep it very, very vibrant right here. And occasionally we let it dip into Tucker Carlson territory and we say, oh my God, this is extreme. Oh my God, this is extreme. This is dangerous extremism, dangerous extremism. Tucker Carlson, Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, dangerous, dangerous extremism. And then we get it right back to the spectrum from Stelter on over, from that Stelter bitch all the way over to that Maddow guy. And that's where we are. They are right in that assessment. Most people cannot be trusted to think for themselves because if you give them those parameters, they will not step outside those parameters. Remember what we talked about at the beginning of the program, what we touched on briefly right at the beginning of the program. And this is Orwell. And when I say crime stop, I'm talking about thought crime. It's right there in 1984. And if you have not read 1984 and Animal Farm, please do. Please. Nothing bothers me more than people quoting and using the word Orwellian with regard to shit that they've never read because they don't realize they've got a complete lack of self-awareness that they're completely epitomizing the very thing that they claim is Orwellian. Crime stop means the faculty of stopping short as though by instinct at the threshold of any dangerous thought. It includes the power of not grasping analogies, of failing to perceive logistical errors, misunderstanding the simplest arguments if they are inimical to Ingsoc. English socialism, Ingsoc in the book. And now it would be if they're inimical to deep state. And of being bored or repelled by any train of thought which is capable of leading in a heretical direction. Crime stop, in short, means protective stupidity. This is what they have cultivated. Particularly over the course of the last couple of years, where everything to the right of Brian Stelter was dangerous fucking neo-Nazi propaganda. Alt-right. This person says alt-right to me, gets punched alt-right in the dick. Self-censorship. And so, because these are the parameters that we've been given to work with, people are incapable of thinking for themselves. Now, you may think, as I mentioned in the headline, that Elon wanting to take over this media company is evidence of a dangerous megalomania. One could make a case for that. One could certainly make a case for that. But see, here's the problem that I've got with that supposition. And getting back to what we were talking about living at a pivotal point in history. You see, Tesla isn't just about cars. Tesla gave us that power wall technology. Let me see if I can find that. Nope. Let me see if I can find that overlay. Here we go. Boom. I'm going to load that real quick. I'm going to fire that up to you. Beyond the electric cars, this is the Powerwall technology right here. Grid-tied solar battery backups. Now, you know my position on renewables. On a grand scale, it's not going to power an industrialized nation, but he's given us the ability. This is Elon Musk. He's given us top of the line electric vehicles and this Powerwall technology, which enables each individual citizen to take their own home off the grid to whatever extent they are willing to go by their will and their budget. Does this sound like a megalomaniac who's trying to bring people down under his control? SpaceX. Again, when he cashed out of PayPal, he put all his money into Tesla and SpaceX. Lifted a prayer. And he's done more to advance the space program than NASA was able to under government direction for decades. Shit that U.S. government finally just shut down on. It isn't worth it anymore. Not getting enough research out of it. Yeah, but we can make it commercially viable. And if we make it commercially viable, guess what? We can get with those scientists and we can make those experiments, those space stations. All these things become viable once again, and we advance ourselves as a species. This man is talking about colonizing other planets. Look, guys that are old enough, guys that are old like me, remember we've been promised this shit since our history books and our science books in the third or fourth grade. I remember being in fourth grade, man, reading a science book that said that by 1986, better than 75% of the cars on the road will be electric. And that worked out. Department of Energy running things. When have they done anything right? The DOE. Show me a government office that hasn't gotten bigger budgets every single year and yet shown flat or diminished returns every single year. People talk about abolishing the Department of Education. You know, the Department of Education has only been around since 1980? Did you know that? And they have yet to show a worthwhile return. Every year their budget goes up, and every year they get flat or lower responses. It's the same thing, again, without getting too far down on a tangent. Elon is doing it better than NASA did. They hate him for it because he's not a functionary. Bezos, do you hear me? That's why you're second richest, because you're a little fucking deep state lapdog, and Elon is not. The Boring Company. Again, this is going to be the future of construction in the cities. Underground arcologies, like what they have going on in Tokyo and several of the in Nagoya, several of the largest cities in Japan. It's going to revolutionize everything. Who did that? Government? No, private individual. Motivated by profits, free market. They hate him. Not because he's a billionaire. We've already made it clear. They don't hate this billionaire or that billionaire. Certainly don't hate this billionaire or this fucking billionaire. They don't hate any of those guys. Even though every one of them has a stake here. I don't hate them. But no, they want to assign all the evil, all the Mephistophelian implications they want to assign to this guy. Why? What do we know about the way that they treat other people? Think about the legacy media. Think about the legacy media and the way that they treated the Bush administration during the run-up to the first Gulf War. Yeah, they might have slagged on him because he was a quote-unquote Republican, but they ran interference for him creating the surveillance state with the Patriot Act. They ran interference with him utilizing cherry-picked intelligence to sell us into the fucking war. Did all that for him. You will know when you have incurred the wrath of the deep state, and that is when the media start lashing out at you, and they are in full bore lash out mode at my boy Elon right now. They want to say that he wants Twitter because he wants to control your thought process. I don't buy that for a fucking second. He gave Starlink technology, and I didn't even get into Starlink when I was showing all the cool stuff that he'd done. He gave Starlink technology to Ukraine. Gave it to him. That's one of the things that Coach Pat was upset about. And I get that because I am no fucking friend of the Ukrops. Zelensky can eat a fat sack of baby dicks. I wasn't in favor of that move. But here's the qualifier. They go to Elon and they say, hey, cool, thank you for giving us this technology. Hey, can you do us a favor? Can you put a filter on here to where no Russian information can get out on this? And Elon said no. What? Yeah, no. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit of a stickler for the First Amendment. Does this sound like someone who's trying to control the fucking dialogue? Does this sound like someone who's trying to take rights away from people? But that's how they got to do it. They project. If it were up to them, and we have said this before, this is without a shred of exaggeration or hyperbole, these people would have us in jail or dead. All of them. They'd love to be able to clip Elon right now, but he's the richest guy in the world. He's got too much fucking light on him. So what are they doing? He has incurred the wrath of the mainstream media. They're going after him, guns blazing. And now, just got this memo, the DOJ and the SEC, he's had some problems going on with the Securities and Exchange Commission. It's all drummed up bullshit. You can do your own homework on it. It's nothing. Just a way for them to turn the screws on him. But now, Merrick Garland, his Justice Department, they're doubling up, cracking down on Elon. They're going to try to do anything they can to keep it. And, it's fine. Maybe he won't get Twitter. Maybe he will. I think it'd be a hell of a victory if he did. But even if he doesn't, he's exposed them. This is a sin for which he will not be forgiven by agents of the deep state, the military, industrial, congressional, media, pharmaceutical, defense contractor, complex. He won't be forgiven for this. So Elon, keep fighting. Because we are at a pivotal time in history. And that was the main bullet point that I wanted to hit. We are at a pivotal moment in history. Somebody just sent me this tweet from Monica Crowley. Twitter's board of directors just denied shareholders billions of dollars. This isn't about business. It's about power and control and not ceding an inch of it. Goddamn right. Goddamn right. Can you imagine a person being that fucking hated? And what has he done? What has he done to engender that kind of hate? This is what it's like to be alive at a pivotal point in history. And we are. We are alive during a pivotal point in history, and Elon Musk is a big fucking part of that. I think for once, not only do you have a richest man on the planet who is not one of them, but a richest man on the planet who truly wants to see, in spite of all our flaws, us deplorables, us great unwashed, who wants to see us proceed and progress as a species. The one guy, yes, that specific SEC, Dennis, the one guy who stepped outside the conventional wisdom to say, no, you know what? We need to have more kids, not less, particularly in fucking European countries. Who the fuck else would ever say that? Who is the only person on that level who has addressed the climate situation with any degree of nuance? Anything this side, whoa, oh God, we're all gonna die. Who? And we are at a point, and Elon is going to be the guy that's got his fingers in all of this. Every single bit of this turning point in history, we'll be able to look on and say, we were alive when this all got started. Our grandkids will be able, yeah, man, granddaddy used to tell me stories about this stuff. We have technology now, thanks to Elon Musk, to free ourselves from the monopolies of the power grid. We've been hearing that we were going to have that since I was in fucking 4th grade. But now it's here. Boom. And Elon did that. Boom. With his money. Boom. We have a commercial space industry now. Been hearing we were going to have that since I was in 4th fucking grade. But Elon did that, boom, with his own money, boom. And he's now talking about colonizing other planets. Horrible, horrible capitalist. Terrible man. All that money. Why, he should be spending that on gender equity programs for transracial furries or something. No, he's just trying to advance us as a fucking species. No big. Giving us technology to remove ourselves from the power grid, creating a commercial space industry, revolutionizing construction to where we're going to be able to build not just up, but out and down, and giving us realistic solutions during the transition phase. Understanding that it's going to be a kick in his fucking pocketbook, but realizing that we can't just dump fossil fuels. He is a man of nuance. He is a man of principle. He is a man of critical thought. Just my perception. But all of the things that these same people, and Dennis, that's perfect. You chime in right now. Funny, the little leftist Twitter simps that all drive Teslas, right? But that's the strength of it. That's that double think. That's that double think. We hate billionaires. We definitely hate billionaires running our media. We can't give billionaires that kind of power. No, that power only goes to corporations. Remember when NBC was owned by General Electric? Individual billionaires, though. Oh, you mean like Bloomberg? We went over all of this. We are at a pivotal turning point. But they have cultivated this protective stupidity. And that is the final layer. And that is what I believe. And again, just my observations, what I believe Elon is trying to take down. And I believe that if he doesn't go through with the purchase of Twitter, I think he could take that same amount of money and build a bigger or better platform. Swing everybody from all fucking platforms over there. It can be done. And if anybody's going to do it, if anybody's got the wherewithal, the money, the principle, and the fucking balls to do it, it's Elon. That last layer of protective stupidity, as Orwell called it, the crime stop. They have cultivated that culture. Not only are we afraid to speak an idea, but we are afraid to utter a thought that might lead to a thought that might lead to another thought that might lead in a roundabout, circuitous way to that particular idea. That's how scared we are. Now, Elon is doing his very best to open it up to where we don't have to be afraid anymore. But here's the unfortunate thing. He might fail. He might fail. Just while he's an incredible human being, he's not the fucking Messiah. And while he's doing his best to advance us as a species and to advance our capabilities as individuals, he's not the one to save us. Counting on someone else to save us is what got us into this position in the first fucking place. So take what St. Elon is giving us. Learn the lessons that are becoming undeniable, that are becoming too large to ignore now. As you're constantly hearing me say, when these people show you who they are, believe them. When these people tell you who they are, believe them. But don't count on Elon or anyone else. We are alive at this pivotal point in history. Just as in every pivotal point in history that went before this. We are alive during that time with two options. To be spectators or to be fucking participants. Now, we've all got our day-to-day responsibilities. We got to feed ourselves. We got to feed our families. We got to earn a living. But don't allow that to justify what Orwell called protective stupidity. The crime stop. Always keep that mind open. Well, I don't care about politics. Well, that's cool, Sparky, because politics still cares about you. So always keep that one eye open. Ultimately, you have to come first. Because it's your spine and your heart and your balls that are going to provide the drive to get us through this thing. But by God, every morning when you get up, Take a deep breath and smile and think about how fortunate you are to be alive. Come hell or high water, win, lose, or draw. We get over the top or we collapse spectacularly. Doesn't matter. Think about how blessed you are to be alive at this pivotal turning point in history and decide for yourself and for your family and for your friends, all my reverence rangers, all my sinner sisters, my prophets of doom out there. Decide amongst yourselves whether or not you want to be spectators or participants. As for me, I'll stand next to any goddamn one of you over here in the comments any day of the week. Shoulder to shoulder, shields high, weapon out and belly in. I stand next to any of you to be out there participating. And the only thing I want in the grand scheme of it is to be able to live long enough to see just the beginning of the results. To be able to hold my grandkids and say, yeah, granddaddy was there. These are the lessons that granddaddy took from it. I'm going to give you this wisdom and you pass it on to your own grandkids. The most powerful thing in the world, the most powerful thing in the world is an idea. Now you can manipulate that. One famous German with a funny mustache, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. Okay. But if the time has come for an idea as noble, it's the true empowerment of the individual, the sovereignty of the individual over the collective, well then by God, that is an idea whose time has come. And I will stand strong for that. And it is every bit the hill that I'm willing to die on. Knuckle up, bitches. I am the Reverend. That is the gospel. Love you guys. On a bit of a tear. Yes. The price to hell NASA just went up 150 million. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Appreciate all you guys being here, man. Thanks for coming out. Dollar Tree Alex Jones. I'm never going to get over that, man. I love that little cocksucker who's out there retweeting my shit. I mean, he's clowning me, man, but he gave me the coolest nickname ever. Love it. Dollar Tree Alex Jones. I'll take it. Anyway, hopefully something that I had to offer might have changed the worldview a little bit, introduced you some new information. If any of those things are the case and you want to drop me some coin, I'm going to pass around that little digital collection plate. I'm on Facebook Pay. I'm on Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, all that good shit. I'm on Zelle, whatever. But I get it. We're in a Biden economy. Not everybody is up to the task of just having spare money laying around. And if you do, man, you probably blew a guy for gas money, and I get that too. It's all right. But if you can't, that's cool. Tell you what you can do for me that would help me out. Spread the word. Repost hashtag Dollar Tree Alex Jones on Twitter. You're the same thing, whatever. But all my reverence rangers, all my prophets of doom, all my sinner sisters out there, let them know, man. That crippled toothless old motherfucker that gets over raised for an hour every single day. He's a like-minded and kindred spirit. Maybe he did what he has. Hey, if you do, check out the program. Fantastic. Go spread that gospel, man. Get in, grow that idea. That idea is everything. I mean what I say on that. The most powerful thing in the world is an idea. And those ideas now, they get too big to suppress. They can't squash them anymore. Even if they hang on to Twitter, even if they hang on to big tech, even if they hang on to all the things, it's out of the bag, Pandora's box. You cannot put that back in. Here's what you can do. Not just remain for yourselves. Remember the directives, guys, the prime directives. Be the signal. Try to crush you with that noise. Be the signal, not the noise, man. Cut through that noise with the signal. trying to crush you with the darkness. You gotta be that light. Be that light and go for the darkness. First and foremost, the iron. You gotta be that strength in a world full of weakness. So that strength, nothing else matters. I love you guys. Appreciate you being here. Love y'all, man. Thanks for being here, man. See you next Sunday. Peace.